The old dirt road was swallowed by weeds. Mira hadn't been back in years, not since the accident. Her headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the rusted gate and the crumbling stone pillars that marked the entrance to her childhood home. A chill ran down her spine as she stepped out of the car. The night air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. Moonlight painted the house in shades of grey and black. The windows, like vacant eyes, stared back at her. Mira fumbled with her keys, the metal cold and heavy in her hand. With a groan, the front door yielded, revealing a maw of impenetrable darkness. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air inside was stale and thick with dust. It clung to her throat, choking her. Mira flicked on a light switch, but nothing happened. Of course, the power must have been cut off years ago. She pulled out her phone, using its dim light to navigate through the oppressive gloom. As she moved deeper into the house, she thought she heard a whisper, a faint rustling sound, like dry leaves skittering across the floor. She stopped, holding her breath, listening, but there was nothing but the heavy silence of the house. Upstairs, Mira found her old room. Dust covered everything, a thick blanket of neglect. She ran a finger across her dusty dresser, tracing the outline of a heart she'd carved into the wood as a child. Memories flickered through her mind, bittersweet and painful. Exhaustion pulled at her. She decided to try and get some sleep. Downstairs, she found an old kerosene lamp and managed to get it lit. The flickering light did little to dispel the shadows that clung to the corners of the room. Mira curled up on the floor, pulling a dusty blanket around her. As she lay there staring into the darkness, the whispers returned. They were closer now, more insistent. They seemed to swirl around her, whispering her name, their voices raspy and cold. Fear pricked at the edges of her exhaustion. She sat up, clutching the blanket tightly around her. The shadows cast by the lamp danced and swayed, taking on menacing shapes in her imagination. She told herself it was just the wind, the house settling around her. Sleep wouldn't come. The whispers continued throughout the night, growing louder, more distinct. They spoke of her parents, of the accident, their voices filled with accusation and blame. Mira tossed and turned, unable to escape the sound of their tormented voices. Dawn broke, painting the dusty windows with a pale, watery light. Mira rose, feeling drained and shaky. She wandered from room to room, searching for the source of the whispers, but they seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. In the living room, she found a stack of old photo albums. Sinking onto the floor, she began to flip through them. Pictures of her parents smiling, their eyes full of life. Pictures of her as a child, carefree and happy. Each image was a shard of a life that was gone, a reminder of all that she had lost. As she looked at the photos, the whispers intensified. They seemed to emanate from the pictures themselves, the voices filled with a deep, bone-chilling sorrow. Mira slammed the album shut, her heart pounding in her chest. Night fell again, and with it the dread returned. Mira considered leaving, driving back to the city, to the safety of electric lights and the comforting noise of traffic. But something kept her rooted to the spot. A need to understand, to confront the darkness that seemed to have seeped into the very foundation of the house. The whispers were relentless now, a constant murmur in the back of her mind. She could feel a presence in the house with her, something cold and malevolent. The air grew heavy, suffocating, and then she saw it, a flicker of movement in the shadows at the end of the hallway, a tall, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. It moved towards her, slowly, deliberately, its form shifting and swirling like smoke. Terror rooted her to the spot. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The figure stopped in front of her, its red eyes boring into hers. A cold, raspy voice emanated from the darkness. "You left us. You abandoned us."